Hi, Rod here. I hope you're doing great today. And a question for you. How do you sell your BV services? Now, I know that sounds like a broad question, but really, how do you do it? Well, today, I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. And in doing so, I'm giving you a sneak preview into my upcoming NACFA conference presentation, How to Sell BV Services Better with Zoom. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of Zoom, or especially how people have come to feel about Zoom calls. All I will say is that I had an aha moment when I started using Zoom. I realized that I could invoke another one of my prospects' senses in a Zoom call. You see, I have long imagined how my prospects feel when all they can do is hear me pitch to them. I imagined I was droning on, and I had nothing to show for it, literally. Now, Zoom lets me show my prospects what I'm doing. It lets me build my case in front of the prospect. So let's go through this. First, here is the sequence of models that I consider when I am doing a BV sales call with a prospect. Which models I use, or the number of models that I use, depend on really the information that I already have about the project and the information that I need to convey to the prospect in order to get the project. Today, we're just going to focus on one model. That's the so-called genius model, the 3 intersecting circles that I'm imagining most or many of you have seen in some way, shape, or form before. So let's do this. So essentially, I start my sales call with what you see on the screen. And why I like this model is that it can be a game changer because it really can convey the complexity of the interrelated BV steps in a fairly simple manner. It shows prospects what I will do and how I will do it, and it allows the prospect to remember what we talked about. So here we go. In the first step, I tell the prospect we're going to procure information and that I'm going to do that 3 different ways. I'm going to send out an information and document request. I'm going to gather relevant economic and industry data, and I'm going to perform a management interview and site visit. Next, I tell the prospect I'm going to perform the analysis, and here's what that involves. First, I'm going to consider all relevant valuation approaches. Then, I'm going to consider all relevant valuation methods or methodologies under those approaches. And last, I'm going to apply all of the relevant discounts and premiums that might be appropriate for the subject interest that's being valued. Next, I tell the prospect that I will prepare the report. And yes, 3 steps. Number 1, that draft report will go through an internal quality control check. Then the draft report upon that review or after that review will be sent to them for the prospect to review. And finally, I will issue the final report. Now, you notice that there are still some holes in this model. And so we go around the circle again, and I tell the prospect, hey, the overlap between procuring the information and performing the analysis ensures that my valuation report will be practices based, meaning generally accepted business valuation practices will be followed. And the overlap between performing the analysis and preparing the report will make sure that my work product is standards based, meaning that it will comply with professional standards. And last, the overlap between preparing the report and procuring the information ensures that the report will be facts-based, because the prospect client at that point or his or her attorney is going to be able to review the report and everything that upon which it was based. Now, you'll notice that there is one last hole here to be filled in the very center. And before I do the last reveal, I think it's important for us to remember that prospects don't come to us because they want a business valuation report. Nope, they come to us because they need a problem solved. At the very end, I make sure to tell the prospect exactly how my process is going to solve their particular problem. Then, when the call is done, I take a screenshot of the model as we completed it together, and I attach it to the email that I send to the prospect when I thank them for taking the time to have the call with me. So, you might be asking, why should I do this? Why should I draw? And there's two reasons that I've come up with. And really, the first one is that I have found that when I draw on screen, it draws the prospect into the conversation. Clearly, there's so many distractions that we experience during Zoom calls, especially when we're doing work from home, that this really keeps the prospect's attention focused on our conversation. And I can layer in the exact amount of complexity that I need into the model and the discussion about the model or of the model, and the prospect is going to remember it. And the second reason that I think you should draw is I can almost guarantee you that nobody else is doing this. When the question comes down to why should I hire you, doing this kind of a drawing of your sales model and your sales pitch is going to make you stand out. And really, isn't that what you want? That's all I have for you today. I hope it's been useful. If you'd like more help turning the practice you have into the practice you want, message me with the word genius and we'll work on a plan together.